degree. How many people in the county jail, about 1,100 people are there, do you believe are in the county jail and are there because they've been convicted of a crime? What percentage? Here's the numbers. What? 20%? These are people that are convicted. Here's the number. 40% of the people in the county jail are there because they're convicted. 60% are waiting for trial. 60%. The number is 58% nationwide. Probably one of the areas that have been changed the most has to do with our criminal justice system. And it's not because I'm soft on crime. I've come to the realization that if you're poor, if you're mentally challenged, or you have limited educational attainment ability, it's difficult to get a fair break in our justice system. You want me to tell you about it? I can talk about it because I've watched some of these hearings, and what I've seen happen to people would never happen to me. But people should be placed in jail awaiting trial based on what?
Risk.
What?
Risk.
Risk. Now, if somebody's committed a horrific crime, I'm one of those people, no bail. Put them behind the bars, protect the rest of us from those people that are serious criminals. But it's no longer based on risk in this country. It's based on wealth. So you can have somebody that has committed a small crime. They get a $10,000 bail. They have to pay 10%. They've got a choice to go to the loan shark bail company or go to jail. And a lot of them go to jail. Somebody else who's wealthier can commit the same crime and they get the money. It's not about risk anymore. I heard a president judge from Mesa County, Colorado speak in December at a National Association of Counties meeting. And he shared that he began to look at this a number of years ago, and in 2012 they made a major change. Personal recognizance is one of the ways people are handled. If you feel they're not a risk, then there's two things: a risk to the public or a flight risk. Those are the two big issues. They would use personal recognizance. In Mesa County, only about 30% of the people that were going to trial were given personal recognizance. And this president judge said, wait a minute. We've got people in jail because they can't make bail, not because they're a flight risk, not because they're a risk to the community. That's wrong. And as president judge, he changed the rules. From 2012 to 2015, they went from 30% of the people going out on personal recognizance to 59%. They also tracked, and they had been tracking, the number of people that are going to trial that show up for trial. The number was 80% in 2012. What do you think it was in 2015? It was 80%. It was unchanged. Here's the last point. There are a lot of things in criminal justice reform. The county spends, of $136 million in property tax, the county spends in courts and corrections, which includes our prison, $85 million of the $136 million every year. So it is not just a social issue. It's not just an issue of what is right. It's also a huge taxpayer issue. Finally, the Cadillac tax. Now, there's a lesson here. I am at heart a constitutionalist, a conservative. But I think sometimes those of us as conservatives that believe in hard work believe that success should be because you're willing to stick in for the long haul. You're willing to do what it takes. When it comes to politics, we lose that understanding and we want it all or nothing. We want it all at once. Now, I'm not drawing a broad brush, but there is a serious danger. You'll see what I mean in a second. Folks, the other side has a strategy, and they've had the strategy for 50 to 70 years. It's called incrementalism. It's a little bit like the frog. If you throw the frog in a pot of boiling water, he'll jump out. But if you put a frog in a cold pan of water and put it on heat and slowly heat it up, it'll never move. because it's happening slowly. What we see in our country today didn't happen overnight, and we're not going to change it overnight. Some people disagree with me, but last April, I was in Washington, D.C., standing up for legislation to eliminate the Cadillac tax in Obamacare. Now, why? There are a couple of reasons. Number one, to me, is I've looked at the Cadillac tax. First of all, it isn't what you think it is. The Cadillac tax is designed to ultimately catch every single private health care plan in the country and drive all of them into a single-payer system. That's what it's designed to do. It also is a 40% tax on businesses and county government on plans that go above that threshold. I believe we need to do whatever we can to gut Obamacare. But right now, as long as President Obama is in office, he is not going to allow us or sign a bill that says we're eliminating Obamacare. We have to fight. What most people don't know. When does the Cadillac tax go into force?
2018.
I heard 2018. How many think it's 2018? How many think it's later than that? When did it change? It changed at the end of last year. Now, in spite of what you think about the spending bill that was passed at the end of the year or towards the end of the year with John Boehner, one of the things buried in that was to put off the Cadillac tax for 2 more years, which I believe will give a Republican president an opportunity to kill the whole thing. But we need to stand up. I stood up at the Capitol steps with a Democratic congressman, a Republican congresswoman from Nevada, with some union leaders speaking out against the Cadillac tax. We need to stand up for what we believe in. And it is amazing, as I've grown in the job of county commissioner, to see all the different ways county government touches our local people and the issues that we deal with. That's why tomorrow morning at 5 a.m., I'm driving to Washington, D.C. for the National Association of Counties annual legislative conference. We'll talk about a lot of different issues. Cadillac tax will be one of them. Waters of the U.S. and EPA overreach will be another one. But we need to stand up, whoever we are. You do that on a regular basis as Berks County Patriots. We need elected leaders to also stand up, and all of us to do what we can where God has placed us. Before I give some closing comments, where's Rod again? 15 minutes, is that where we're at? Let's take some questions. I would ask you one question, if you could. Try to stick on these issues for county government. Otherwise, we can get far afield on a lot of other issues, and I'd rather stick on county government if we can. Question? Yes?
Okay, I work in the mental health field, and some counties have what they call a mental health court, which is a lot more successful from what I have read. Is Berks County considering a mental health court?
Yes. We already have diversionary courts for drug and alcohol. We have a veterans court, and what that means, you have a veteran or you have somebody who the underlying issue is drug and alcohol. There are options to prison. Again, they save the county money, and they're more likely to deal with the underlying issue. Mental health is becoming an enormous issue. We have one entire wing of the county jail filled with people who the issue is mental health. No matter what we do, if we don't deal with the mental health issue, they are back again and again. Here's another crazy thing, and this is one of the things we're fighting with the federal government. When a person is jailed, and they're poor, and they're on Medicaid, and they're jailed for even 2 days, they lose their Medicaid. And the county takes over all their health care, but more importantly, when they get out, it can take a month or more for them to get their Medicaid back. And what happens to people with mental health issues that can't get their meds. They're back in our jail before they can get back on Medicaid. We have joined a national program called Stepping Up with the National Association of Counties, where counties are working together with local police departments to divert, not just diversionary courts, but down in Texas, San Antonio, Texas, and several surrounding counties have come up with a program that police officers are taught every morning. Here's what to look for. Now, in the case of a violent act, they have to go to jail. But in a nonviolent case, they take them to a mental health facility that's jointly managed by all of those counties. Those counties have saved enormous dollars over the last 3 years by diverting people out of the prison population and getting them the help they need. Mental health is a major issue. Question? Bruce and then Ruth.
Christian, it's my understanding that the county's housing some illegal aliens is it Wernersville, at the county facility in Wernersville? Could you give us an update on that, what's going on there?
We do not house illegal aliens, and since I've been here, we've not, and the years prior, as far as I know, we have not. That facility is under the federal direction, and it is for people who are claiming asylum. It's different than people that have come here illegally. They have to, by law, have a federal hearing, and the court has to determine, do they have a legitimate claim for asylum or not. My understanding is right before I became a commissioner in 2008, the primary population was, what do you think? No, ethnicity. No, Chinese. In the last number of years, it's turned primarily Latino, but it depends where the hot spots are that people are coming from. But that's what that facility is. It's known as the Berks County Residential Center, but it does not house illegal aliens. It cannot. Ruth was next, and then I think 1, 2, and 3 is what I saw. What's that? Well, I said Ruth after Bruce. Sorry about that.
What can be done if the state is holding up federal money to the county? Can the state be successfully sued? Can we divert the funds around the state so that they come directly to the
This is
county?
a huge issue. If the state, and it is our understanding that the governor had the authority to release the federal funds that already had been allocated by the federal government to the counties, and he did not. Now, if you talk to the governor and the budget secretary, they will tell you they didn't have the authority. County Commissioners Association believe they did. That's number 1. Number 2, the County Commissioners Association, with my voice and also with the voice of Kevin Barnhart, both of us are on the board, called for a lawsuit against the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania to force them to release the money. When we looked at that, and this is the craziness of the way laws are set up, we had no standing to do that, but we, at the same time, were collecting dollars for the state and sending them to the state. Now, Bucks County, and I credit Bucks and Chester County for doing this, Bucks and Chester County said, "You're crazy. We're not sending you any more money." Now, here's the problem with that. We looked into the law, and the law says that you can't withhold money from the state, and if you do, the department head that's withholding the dollars goes to jail. Well, the department would have been, the big one would have been the Recorder of Deeds, Fred Sheeler. Now, I made it very clear that if it meant I went to jail, I vote yes. I'd love to see him put me in jail. But as I said to Fred Sheeler, I'm not going to tell you, you need to be willing to go to jail. Ultimately, we didn't do that, but here's what's interesting. Chester County and Bucks County did. They didn't pay it until the budget money was released, and nobody did a thing. And the reason is, I believe the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania was scared to death to press that issue. But that is just a huge fallacy in the way the government gets away with stuff like that, because that would have saved most, not all, but most of the counties from having to go borrow money just if the federal money had been released. What time? Well, 5? Okay, one more question. Who did I promise here? Okay.
The township official down in Washington Township. And we are missing some money that the state kind of promised us, but it's okay. We budgeted for without that money, so we're doing okay. What can we do to this guy, Wolf, that he wants to do the 17-18 budget? What the heck? I mean, our 16-17 budget, what can we do to hold his feet to the fire? Because this is BS. He's violating the Constitution. He's violating it. So who are we? What can we do? I mean, I'm behind you on this right to work and all that other stuff. I'm 100% behind you. So if the people are behind this, we can get this done. This guy got to go.
Two things. Number one, support the legislators that are doing the right thing. Here's the funny thing. Do not get caught up in the comparison of the approval ratings for Governor Wolf, which are very low, and the approval ratings of the legislator. Why shouldn't you get caught up in following those ratings? Because the rating in one case is of an individual and that individual's performance or lack thereof. And that is a well-deserved low rating. When you rate a body, that's not the same as rating an individual. And the legislature, a lot of people look at the legislature and say the whole thing. Well, number one, if you're not in the majority, you have very little voice in what the House or the Senate does. And if you're not in leadership, you have very little say in what is done. You need to look at the individual legislators, and we have a number of them here in Berks County that have stood up and said no to these insane taxes and yes to controlling the growth of government and dealing with the spending issues. Number two, I believe you need to come out and strongly, courageously, but kindly. And when I say kindly, I'm not talking about wimp. But let's not be jerks like many other people. Let's stand up. Let's give the facts. Let's say why we believe this kind of budgeting is wrong and this kind of strategy is wrong. That's what I believe we need to do. We need to go after the governor based on the fallacy of his position, and we need to stand up for the legislators that are doing the right thing. Let me conclude. I'll take one more. Okay, I see your hand. Go ahead. Right over here. He's going to bring a mic.
When you were running for office, I mentioned this.
Yes.
I want to tell you something. You got the illegal aliens here, right?
Right?
You got the welfare department here, right? These people that work for money, they work their hearts out. I came here in 1952 from Athens, and I got a scumbag politician, my cousin. He ruined the whole country. And he's a scumbag, period. Okay? They're all scumbags. And I'm telling you right now, I'm a Donald Trump boy. I was in New York at the Price Club, never reaching. Now I'll tell you something, you're all going to go. It's time for you to stop playing games with the people's lives. We had enough of it. Now I'm going to tell you something, we're going to have a revolution in this country. I came here...
Just wait, let me answer. I agree with you. One of the things that I had to learn as an elected official, I'm 56, I'll be 57 on March the 1st.
I'm 71.
You're older and more experienced than I am, but I've spent the majority of my life working in the private sector. Linda mentioned what drove me to get involved is when I went back to Hungary and Czechoslovakia in 1979, and one evening sat down with my relatives and friends that were about my age. And I talked to them what it was like to live in America. I didn't have a phone. I had a stack of photographs. And I showed them pictures. And partway through the evening, and I spoke through my aunt. I didn't speak the language. They didn't speak English. They asked me, what do you mean? You keep talking about freedom. We don't know what you mean. I tried to explain, and I couldn't. You know why? Those young people were all born after World War II. All they knew was communism. That's all they knew. And I realized somebody trying to explain freedom to somebody who's never experienced it would be like trying to explain air to somebody who's never breathed it.